Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Wormhole. Yesterday, Ripple made a move that most people missed. They're expanding RLUSD, their 1.3 billion stablecoin, to Ethereum Layer 2. But here's what's crazy. They're not using LayerZero, they're not using Axelar, they're using something called Wormhole Native Token Transfer Standard. This might be the most important piece of crypto infrastructure you've ever seen or heard of. Let me show you why. BlackRock, Circle, VanEck, and Uniswap are all betting on this tech. December 15th, Ripple, RLUSD, the stablecoin backed one-to-one by cash and U.S. Treasuries, issued under the New York Department of Financial Services Trust Company Charter. That means it has bank-level oversight. This isn't some sketchy algorithmic stablecoin. This is institutional grade. RLUSD launched on Ethereum and the XRP ledger, but now it's expanding to the layer 2s, Optimism, Base, Kraken, Inc., Unichain as well. And here's the key. They're using something called Wormhole's Native Token Transfer Standard. Not a traditional bridge, not wrap tokens, native tokens. And why this matters is because Ripple had options. They could have used LayerZero, maybe Axelar, any number of bridge solutions, but they chose Wormhole. And as we'll see, they're not alone. This is where things get quite interesting. All right, so what is Wormhole? Think of it as the internet's TCP/IP protocol, but for blockchains. It's basically a messaging layer that lets different blockchains talk to each other. But here's what makes the difference. Most bridges just move tokens from chain A to chain B, right? Wormhole does that, but it also enables cross-chain messaging, governance, data queries, basically anything you need to build a truly multi-chain application. Here are the numbers, right? Over 1 billion cross-chain messages, transmitting over $40 billion of total value moved. It connects 40 plus blockchains, including Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, BNB chain, and more. And here's the kicker. It's not some small startup. Wormhole's network is trusted and used by BlackRock, Apollo, VanEck, Google Cloud, Circle, Uniswap, you name it. All right. Let's talk about liquidity fragmentation. Here's what happens with traditional bridges. Let's say you have USDC on Ethereum and you want to use it on Arbitrum. The old way, you lock your USDC on Ethereum and the bridge mints a wrapped version, right? Let's call it Wormhole USDC or Bridge USDC on Arbitrum. Now you have real USD on Ethereum, and this wrapped version on Arbitrum, they're technically different tokens, different liquidity pools, different prices, and different risk. Now, if you scale that across different blockchains, suddenly your 1 billion in USD is split into tiny fragments. That 50 million here, 20 million there. Each pool has less depth, more slippage, worse pricing, and bridges have been hacked for 2.8 billion because of this complexity. So here's how Wormhole's NTT, Native Token Transfer Protocol, this is how it works and why it's different. The native token transfer doesn't create wrapped tokens. Instead, you have the same native token across multiple chains. So there's two different models here, okay? And we're going to break them down. Mint and burn and hub and spoke. With mint and burn, when you send a token from Ethereum to Solana, the token is burned and Ethereum and when I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, guys. So when you burn and mint, so when you send a token from Ethereum to Solana, the token is burned on Ethereum and it's minted natively on Solana. All right. The total supply is distributed across chains, but it's always the same token with the same properties. All right. Now, with hub and spoke, which is what Ripple is using, you have a main chain where tokens are locked and the native versions are minted and spoked on other chains. So, but crucially, no liquidity pools are required, no slippage, no MEV risk, no wrapped token confusion. And here's the best part, the issuer maintains full control. Ripple can set the rate limits, customize access controls. They can manage their tokens across all chains in basically one place. It's like having a master switch for a multi-chain token. This is why Circle integrated Wormhole for native USDC transfers. This is why Sky, formerly known as MakerDAO, uses USDS. This is the infrastructure layer for institutional multi-chain finance. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Guardian network on Wormhole. Now, I know you've been wondering, it sounds great, but how do you know it's secure? It's a fair question, right? So, Wormhole has 19 independent Guardian nodes. You can think of them as validators. They basically watch every supported blockchain 24/7. When you send a message from one chain to another, here's what happens. First, your transaction is emitted on the source chain. Each guardian independently observes it and validates it. They don't just rubber stamp it, they actually run full nodes and verify the transaction has actually happened. Once 13 out of the 19 guardians agree, that's what we call supermajority threshold. They create something called a VAA, Verified Action Approval. Think of it as a cryptographic receipt that prove yes, this really happened on a particular chain. Then it relays, right, the VAA to the destination chain, which then verifies all the signatures and executes the message. The security model is similar to how Bitcoin works. You need a majority to collude to create a fake message, which economically and technically is infeasible when you have 19 independent, publicly known validators. Now, critics will say it's only 19, that's pretty centralized, but compared to most bridges, which only have maybe 3 to 5 multi sig signers, and Wormhole is working on zero knowledge based proofs for trustless verification in the future. All right. So here's where things get really interesting. When we talk about interoperability, we've got BlackRock, world's largest asset manager, right? Their BIDL tokenized treasury fund has expanded to Solana using Wormhole. You have VanEck with their VBill, and they've tokenized US Treasury fund using Wormhole to operate across Ethereum, Solana, BNB, Avalanche, and more. We have Apollo Global and Hamilton Lane basically with the same story. They're using Securitize as a tokenization platform, and Securitize chose Wormhole as their official interoperability provider. And then lastly, we've got Circle. They've integrated Wormhole too for a native USDC transfers through their CCTP. Uniswap even uses Wormhole also for their governance infrastructure. So we're seeing massive expansion across multiple blockchains using Wormhole's technology. So this isn't some theoretical DeFi summer stuff. This is Wall Street moving on chain, and they're choosing Wormhole as their rails. All right. So if Wormhole is So great. What about Axelar, right? What about LayerZero? These are the other big interoperability layers, you know? LayerZero uses what they call an ultralight endpoint. It's super modular. You can basically pick your own oracle and relayer. It's very flexible, but it also means you're trusting whoever you pick. It's fast, it's lightweight, it's great for DeFi applications, right? Axelar, it's probably one of the most decentralized. It's full proof of stake with I think 75 different validators. Very trustless, but also the slowest and the most expensive because every message goes through the entire blockchain consensus process. Wormhole basically sits in the middle. It has 19 guardians, as we spoke about, majority threshold, and a track record of 1 billion messages without a security incident, all since their 2022 upgrade. It's not maximally decentralized, but it's battle tested and it's trusted by big institutions across the world. And that is important. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the multi-governance. So just really quickly, here's something that most people didn't know. Wormhole enables cross-chain governance through MultiGov. Imagine Uniswap token holders voting from Ethereum, Arbitrum, and Optimism, all in one unified vote. The the proposals basically, um, once the proposal passes and actions are executed across all chains simultaneously, this is how truly multi-chain DAOs work in practice: unified control and a distributed execution. The MultiGov solves fragmented governance, a problem that will become a critical as protocols expand to 5+ chains or so. This infrastructure that appears boring until you need it, but it's indispensable. Okay, lastly, I just want to wrap up with this one. Let's talk numbers. We've got 1 billion cross chain messages processed, almost north of 40 billion in total value transferred, almost 100,000 messages per day connecting 40 plus blockchains. I mean, this isn't anything that's theoretical. It's already in production. The infrastructure that's handling real institutional volume right now, today. I hope you all enjoyed this session. Take care.